Have you ever looked at a successful property investor and thought, hey, they just got lucky. They bought at the right time, they bought in the right suburb, and everything just seemed to go their way. But here's the truth. Most successful investors don't wait for luck. They create it. In today's episode of the Michael Yardney podcast, I'm joined by Brett Warren, National Director of Property at Metropole, and together we're going to pull back the curtain on what really drives success in property. You'll discover why some investors always seem to be in the right place at the right time, while others miss out again and again. Now, we're going to share the habits, the strategies, the mindset shifts that can help you manufacture your own luck, that would help you set yourself up to take advantages of opportunities that others never see. And boy, are there many of those out there at the moment. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to take your portfolio to the next level, stick around, because today's episode of the Michael Yardney podcast could change the way you think about property investing forever. Let's get going.
Welcome to the Michael Yardney podcast, where twice each week you will learn a number of new ideas regarding success, property investment and money in around 30 minutes. Our show is brought to you by Metropole, who specialise in helping you grow, protect and pass on your wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. Now here's your host, Michael Yardney, Australia's authority in wealth creation through property, who has been voted one of Australia's top 50 most influential thought leaders.
Michael, good to be with you.
I'd like to get into this idea of luck in property investment. You and I both hear it all the time. People look at successful investors and they say, oh, they were lucky, or they bought at the right time. But Brett, is that really the case? Are successful property investors just lucky, or is there something else going on?
Well, that's a really good point, Michael. And look, I've had a few portfolio reviews this week for the last couple of months, and we've had a couple of young people who have done exceptionally well. Their properties have probably done, 10 or 15% the last 12 months. And they've actually said, oh, I've been lucky. But I've actually gone back and talked to them about some of the points we're going to cover today. So I'm looking forward to unpacking some of these things, because although luck plays an important part in life, I guess, and maybe there's some investors that are lucky, but I think it's that position in time where opportunity meets preparation. So maybe we can unpack some of those types of things. And at the end of the day, I congratulated those people on first and foremost taking action, because others often hesitate, don't they?
That's right. They've actually taken action, very much so. Now, I actually like that quote that you said, luck is what happens when preparation means opportunity. How does that apply in property investment, Brett?
Well, look, I guess it's about that preparation to begin with, because, you've got to set yourself up. And we obviously never start by buying a property, but we take the opportunity to sit back.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. At Metropole, we don't.
Metropole,
we always start with the big picture. And
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to interrupt you on that, but I know a lot of people actually start with what's the best location, what's the best property, where should I buy, what cash flow? And that's what a lot of buyer's agents do. So sorry to interrupt your train of thought, but we don't do that.
No, that's right. And it's about stepping back and getting the preparation right. So making sure we've got financial buffers in place, understanding the cycles, like you said, having that longer term strategy, understanding where you're heading to, then we can reverse engineer the process. Then we can assess which market to look at different opportunities and advantage and opportunities to add value and things like that as well. So making sure someone's actually ready to take advantage of the situation that comes up. And I guess too many times I hear that, property becomes the plan or the event, where it's complete opposite, isn't it?
You're right. Property investment's a process, and you've often heard me say the property you eventually buy is the physical manifestation of a whole lot of decisions you've made in the right order. So people really have to plan to become the people they plan to become. It actually tells you what to do, but Brett, it also tells you what not to do.
Well, it certainly does. I think obviously there's some investors at the moment that miss every boat, don't they, Michael? They seem to miss out on opportunities all the time. And I think they're probably more reactive than proactive. And in a sense, Michael, property investing has become easier because there's so much information and so much stuff out there. But when you look at the other side of things, look at the media and the 24-hour headline. And, sometimes people listen to the media, they read things and they get either analysis paralysis, or they get a bit of fear in waiting for the right opportunity. And I guess that opportunity really never arrives, does it?
Interestingly, at the moment, the media in general is very positive about property. Interest rates are falling, consumer confidence, buyer and seller confidence has increased. The government's poured fuel on the fire of our property markets by bringing the first owner incentives in sooner. But despite all that, there are still people who only see the negatives. Only yesterday, I commented on somebody who left a comment on our YouTube channel, in fact, on one of your and my podcasts, who were basically saying all the negative things about the expense, about the cost of living, about the government, about the overseas wars, about all the problems. And all they could see, because of, I guess, the media taking them down their little rabbit warren, was the negatives. And so they get paralysed by the fear rather than seeing the positives, Brett.
Yeah, look, it's so easily done and it's understandable. And I guess we've got to, you have to, by preparing correctly and understanding that the timing of what decision you're making is very, very important. But then I guess the other thing that holds back people, Michael, is waiting for the right time to buy. What's your view on that?
Sure. So what's the right time to buy? Interestingly, and you and I passed on that email that a client bought. David Cohen bought a fantastic property in Mentone for one of our clients. And she said, thank you. I got in just at the right time before the market turned. You saw my response. No, the right time was 20 years ago. But the second best time is today. There are still opportunities, and yes, it would have been nice if people had the opportunity, and a lot of our clients at Metropole did, to get in 2 years ago, 18 months ago, when the cycle started to turn, even though interest rates were high. And yes, the market has moved up a notch, and any assessment you made of what property values were, even a week or two or three ago, is almost out of date now. But it's not too late, because the market is moving, but there's still big upside in certain sectors of the market. It's going to start, I believe, at the moment at the lower end, with the new first homeowner grants incentivising 70,000. It's estimated by the government, 70,000 new first home buyers taking advantage of this 5% deposit scheme. In other words, they don't have to pay lenders' mortgage insurance. So not only do they need less deposit, but they actually don't have to pay the $20,000, $30,000 lenders' mortgage insurance. So that gives them even more money in their pockets. And that's going to push the lower end of the market up and be an established homeowner grant, and the people who are selling to them are going to move up. So I can still see 2 or 3 years of strong property price growth. So timing is useful. It's nice. It helps. But even Warren Buffett said he can't time the markets. So he just focuses on quality assets and the long-term picture. And Brett, in my mind, property is the same. Brett, if timing isn't important, it's just getting back to this concept of luck. If luck isn't random, how can investors create more luck for themselves? How can they put themselves in the position to be lucky?
Yeah, well, look, I think the first thing is starting with preparation and getting the preparation right for everything. Understanding what the long-term goal is, what they're working towards. And I think the other thing is surrounding themselves with a good team. It takes a lot of the stress out of it. There's probably 5 or 6 different things you need to look at. There's the strategy, there's the finance, the buying the property, there's the structure, there's the property manager at the end. So if you've got a team around you to take care of all of that, it reduces a lot of the pressure on what you're doing and gives you that clear path moving forward. It's also important to get all your ducks in a row rather than just going out and buying a property. I know I also find by getting your ducks in a row and having your budget ready, your comfort level, all your numbers and finance set up, it just takes a lot of the emotion out of the process as well, because you know that you can't overextend yourself. You know where you can go to. You know you've got your structure in place. And importantly, you also know how this property is going to perform over the longer term and build towards your longer term goal. And then that allows you to focus on the right type of property in the right location, getting into those investment grade locations, not getting emotional and falling for the latest email in your inbox that's going to tell you the next hotspot, but taking those long-term fundamentals. Look, property can be a pretty forgiving asset, and staying in the market through multiple cycles is important. So we always advocate for at least 15 or 20 years getting through those multiple property cycles. And if you're getting into areas that are outperforming the average, you're also going to do even better. But also accept, I always hear you say, look, let's not hope nothing happens. Let's prepare that something is going to happen, and that way we can work it out. So making sure we've got buffers to take advantage of opportunities, firstly, because people will sell and you've got the opportunity to take advantage of that. But also if you're finding yourself in a lean period as well, to have that buffer, because property is an expensive game and getting in and out of that is very, very difficult. They're probably the key things with that preparation side of things, Michael.
Well, I think you started right by saying have a team, because property investment, in my mind, is a team sport. And even at my level, I've got all those consultants that you mentioned. So let me quickly give a shameless plug for the team at Metropole, because we're much more than just another buyer's agent. What we do is help our clients build intergenerational wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. So yes, it does start with your where and why and what you want to achieve. And we have very powerful software that helps clients map out, or we help them map out, we map out for them what the options are and what the different alternatives could be. And then we help them get the right finance through our alliances. Our strategist puts a plan together, and only then do the buyer's agents implement the plan. But we have on the ground team, so they would not fly in or fly out or do things over WhatsApp or Facebook videos. And then, yes, we manage our clients' properties in the long term. And for those who are wanting to get to the next level and get involved in renovations or development, manufacturing capital growth, we can do that as well. So if this concept is of interest to you and you're wanting to take advantage of this new phase of the cycle, have a chat with the team at Metropole. That's the team that Brett looks after. I'll leave a link in the show notes, but just go to metropole.com.au and have a chat. Let's explore your options. Let's discuss with you what you could do. So sorry for the plug, Brett, but with those who are watching on YouTube and Spotify can see the big Metropole sign behind you. I'm working from my home office. So just for those who don't know what we do, I thought I'd do that.
Yeah, look, having everything in the one place is quite rare and quite unique. So, we've obviously provide a very valuable service. And Michael, we did talk about some of those practical things, but something that I think is very underrated is probably the role mindset plays. What are your thoughts on that?
If people ask me what's the difference between those really successful investors you see and the average investor, I'd say mindset is the most important bit. You're a much more sporty person than me. It's just as relevant in sport, isn't it?
Sport, business, absolutely, 100%.
Totally. Successful investors see the challenges that we discussed a moment ago as temporary and solvable. They see the land tax or the government changes in residential tenancies not as a fine for being an investor. Oh, what are they doing to me? They see it as a fee for being in the game, and it's just part of, well, they don't see it as a game, they see it as a business. And by having the right mindset, they don't look for excuses. They look for opportunities. So in my mind, that attracts luck to them. Focuses, the whole story. What you look for, you find. So if you look for challenges and problems, they're going to be there. I've often said you can't be a successful investor until you've invested through a couple of cycles also, because these challenges are going to come up. And the first time you get a vacancy, if you're a new investor, the first time interest rates change or the government changes the rules for tenancies, it's normal. We're human to get a little bit nervous about it. But once you've been around the block a couple of times, it's easier. You don't get as upset. So in short, when you become an expert, these will all of a sudden present themselves because you're going to know what to look for, but also you're going to be ready to bounce if you have a plan. If, however, you're not prepared, if you don't have the plan that you're talking about, when an opportunity comes your way, you don't even recognize it, so it passes you by, Brett.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I mean, the average person probably goes and buys a property once every 3 or 4 years. I mean, we probably do that most weekends. We buy one a week, more than that, one a weekend. So, it's really having that ability to foresee that. And so many of our clients come to us with general ideas about what they'd like to do, but it's complete opposite of what we recommend, and the outcomes they're achieving is amazing. So having that team around you is important, and also having that team to actually identify those opportunities is incredibly important as well. Otherwise, they may just pass you by.
Definitely.
What are some other successful traits, Michael, that we maybe haven't touched on that successful investors have?
Okay, so mindset is definitely important. I also think that investors, the successful ones that we deal with at Metropole, set long-term goals. They plan, as we've said, to become the people they plan to become, but not this year or next year. They don't make their decisions on where interest rates are going to be in the next 6 months. They make their long-term decisions on where the property market's going to be in 6 years, in 10 years, in 15 years. And so they're bringing their future into the present by doing the planning and using the powerful software we can help them with. And they do something about it now rather than hoping it's just going to turn out right. So number one, they set long-term goals. The other, a theme that we discuss so often, Brett, is delayed gratification. Spend less than you earn, save some of the money, invest the difference, meaning that you're going to have the money to spend in the future, whether it's in investing or other things. So having a long-term goal, delaying for the future. I think the other big factor is the importance of capital growth, Brett. Most investors, well, successful investors recognize that, but I think many investors who come to us at Metropole initially, they're looking for cash flow, aren't they?
Well, they are. That's the natural thing. They want to feel better. They want more money or want more cash. But I often hear you say that people need to have two businesses, Michael, which is their cash flow business, which is their work and their business or whatever it may be, and also their property business, which focuses on the compounding and leveraging growth of that longer term. Look, cash flow is beneficial. Who doesn't want an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a year, right? But at the end of the day, it's the capital growth that will get them out of the rat race, and that's going to be the game changer.
Definitely. So if we keep looking at some of the traits of these successful investors, more than just luck, they continuously learn, they study the markets, but they're optimistic. There are two groups of people in this world, the cup half full and cup half empty. Optimists don't get scared by the things that the property pessimists are continuously worrying about. And they're out there. There's always on social media the property pessimists as well. And so these successful investors don't get worried. They don't get scared. They understand that there are risks, but they don't speculate. They use time-tested strategies to allow them to take advantage of these opportunities. At the moment, there's a whole raft of new ideas I'm reading and hearing about on social media and getting in my inbox, how to get around the fundamentals of having to save, getting a deposit, buying good quality properties. We've seen all these little schemes come and go, and they do go. So be careful. They stick to tried and true systems. No use running up a mountain if you're running up the wrong mountain. Put your ladder against the right mountain and climb the property ladder slowly. These people are decisive. They take action. They specialize initially. They do the same thing over and over again, and then they diversify. And we believe in diversification in different states, in different forms of property, apartments, townhouses, houses, commercial property, industrial property, once you've built an asset base. And also, we definitely agree that people should have other assets like shares or ETFs, but start not diversifying. Get good at something. And that's because they treat their property like a business. If I could, right back to the beginning, they actually have a team around them. I think they also take responsibility, Brett. They don't blame others.
No, they don't. They own up to the mistakes, and they're very forthright with those types of things. And they become aware of those opportunities, and they repeat those opportunities. And I guess that gets back to what you often say, Michael, is most people take 30 years to become financially independent because the first 10 years are making those mistakes. But boy, if you have a team around you, you can probably cancel out those 10 years because you're working with people who have made those mistakes themselves and can show you the right pathway and guide you through those times.
Now, Brett, you said a moment ago that you don't see many clients anymore, but you do client reviews. Part of Metropole's service is an ongoing service, not just to buy a property, but to help our clients grow their wealth and then review them once a year to see how they're going. Can you share a couple of examples of some people who've done very well where outsiders would say, oh, they were lucky, but we know it was more than that?
Yeah, I spoke to a young female yesterday and her partner, and they're only a young couple. They're probably around the 30 years of age mark. And
That's young for
it
you
is
and
for
me,
me.
Brett.
Absolutely. So they were looking to buy something, in an area a couple of years ago, and I guess they'd had a couple of properties already, and we actually led them to an area in Melbourne that we've found in a location where we can actually buy a house. At that time, we could buy a house for kind of around that $700,000 mark. This is probably about 18 months ago. So they trusted our judgment. We made the assessment. Other markets were booming, but when we did the numbers and we put their plan together, we looked and we assessed that the type of property we'd get in Melbourne was nowhere near what we could get in Sydney and Brisbane for that kind of price point in that 700,000 mark. So we actually identified this location, and I caught up with them recently, and the property's gone up about $110,000, Michael. So it's now we're getting properties then at 700. We can't get into that market for under $800,000 now, and everyone's saying Melbourne's going to turn the corner this year. Well, look, it's already turned the corner at that level, and particularly as you highlighted before, with interest rates coming down and first home buyer grants coming in shortly, they've done exceptionally well. And the benefit of that is while they've scrimped and saved to get that initial deposit, they can now use that equity. And we're actually going through the process of going through a second property simply because they've had the ability to use some of that equity towards the next deposit.
So the Melbourne market was basically flat over the last 12 months, but we don't buy the Melbourne market or the Sydney market or the Brisbane market. We buy individual properties in that market that are going to outperform and that are going to be good long-term assets. So there's still opportunities in Melbourne. There's no doubt about it. But yes, these people have almost doubled their equity that they put into the property in this time. But by the way, that wasn't just one couple, because I know we bought quite a lot of properties for clients in a group of suburbs that have done very, very well. And because the market's caught up in some ways, I know your research team has been looking at other areas of similar opportunities, and there are still some around, including, interestingly, in Sydney, where some people would suggest, hey, I can't afford Sydney, but I wouldn't count it out, because there are some areas in Sydney where you can get apartments for much less than half the median price of Sydney. You can get a good apartment.
Yeah, look, it's the biggest gap ever between Sydney apartments and Sydney houses, and that kind of 700 to a million mark is definitely first home buyer territory, and they want to live where the lifestyle is. We talked about delayed gratification before, Michael, but for that demographic, they don't know what delayed gratification is. They want it all here and now, so they want to live in the best areas and the best locations, by the water and with some good lifestyle areas. So certainly that opportunity is still around at the moment, and I think that window will close up fairly quickly in the next 3 to 6 months.
Well, Brett, I hope the message we got through to people is you can create your own luck by all the things we've already said, and importantly, getting a team around you. But what would you say to an investor who feels they've had bad luck at the moment and can't get anything right?
Well, Michael, I think we've all been there, haven't we? I mean, it's probably
Yep.
not bad luck. It's probably just bad decision making, poor preparation. Maybe they haven't got control of their strategy, their finance. They're chasing quick wins. They're not looking at the longer term. They're not going through some of those successful habits we just talked about, focusing on the longer term. But the good news is, there's still time. We're at the start of a brand new cycle. There's some amazing opportunities out there at the moment. I've never seen the fundamentals so one-sided. And
Yes.
so many opportunities out there with, obviously a lot of people moving here and things like that as well. So the good news is you can get it right. Maybe you can take a step back, listen to what we spoke about at the start about getting a good team around you and preparing yourself and getting the right strategy in place before you execute. As you said before, Michael, we can use a time and tested strategy that's actually replicable, and continue to turn your luck around, I guess I could say.
Definitely. So for those of you listening and watching, thank you. By the way, if you don't subscribe to this YouTube channel or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this on your podcast app, please do so, because twice a week we bring you all the ideas about property, success and money. And Brett's on the show every week to share his multi-decades of experience as well. And I hope, if you've got some benefit from this, why not send this episode to somebody else who you think needs some luck in their property investing? Because if people call the fortuitous alignment of preparation and opportunity luck, then yes, property investors are lucky. If that's what you call luck, then successful investors need to know what to do. They prepare by investing in their personal development, by learning, getting the skills, getting the knowledge, getting the team, and then they become the beneficiaries of luck by meeting preparation and opportunity, as Brett said. So next time you hear somebody say, investor was lucky, remember, luck favors the prepared. And with the right strategy, the right team, the right mindset, you can start creating your own luck in property too. Thanks for your time, Brett. Look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Thanks, Michael. Good to be with you.
Each week I give away 3 copies, hard copies, real copies of one of my best-selling books. At the moment, I'm giving away Michael Yardney's Guide to Investing Successfully, which is more than just about property. And I give it to people who answer the property trivia quiz. Really easy question today. And once you know the answer, go to propertytrivia.com.au. I'll leave a link in the show notes. Enter your answer. And 3 people are going to win Michael Yardney's Guide to Investing Successfully, and everyone's going to get an updated property report. And don't worry if you're listening to a slightly older episode, your entry will still count. Here's this week's answer. You will know the answer. Which Australian city has the highest median house price at the moment in the last half of 2025, August 2025? Which Australian city has the highest median house price? Go to propertytrivia.com.au. I'll leave the link of that in the show notes in case you don't remember. Similarly, there's a link for podcastbonus.com.au. If you go to podcastbonus.com.au, I've got a heap of extra reports that you may find useful. You've heard in my discussion with Brett Warren that success in property investment, I guess success in everything isn't luck. Well, there's a bit of luck, but you've got to create your own luck, don't you? And now's an opportunity, in my mind, to take advantage of a window of opportunity and create luck in your real estate investment. Whether you're buying your next home or an investment property, the market's moving faster than some people would like at the moment. The interest rate cuts, the increase in buyer confidence, the increased auction clearance rates are showing what's happening. And early next year, there's going to be a whole wave of new home buyers coming into the market when the first home buyer grants kick in. Currently at Metropole, we're seeing our clients wanting to get in before all this happens, and we're helping them. We've helped them through multiple property cycles. We know that this is the beginning of what I'm calling a super cycle, a number of years of strong property price growth, but selective and fragmented. So why not have a chat with a wealth strategist at Metropole? You'll find we're much more than just another buyer's agent. We help our clients safely outperform the markets through strategic property and wealth advice. Go to metropole.com.au. I'll leave a link in the show notes, metropole.com.au, and have a chat, whether you're buying your first home, an investment property, or just wanting to find what strategy is right for you at this particular time so that you don't only depend on luck. So you'll find, as I said, we're much more than buyer's agents. We'll help you create a personalized strategic plan. We'll help you identify high-performance opportunities. Will help you move ahead with clarity and confidence and avoid the mistakes many investors make. History has shown that those who act early reap the rewards. You've missed the beginning of this cycle, but there's plenty of time left. Secure your position in the cycle now before the others do. Go to metropole.com.au and let's talk about how you can take advantage of the current market.
Now here's Michael's mindset message. Remember, a change in your thinking will lead to a change in your life.
In my mindset message today, I want to point out that everything matters. It's a thought that may make you feel uncomfortable, but yes, in my mind, everything matters. Every single thing. You see, you don't get to pick and choose when you show up at your best, not if you want to be a top performer. Because the world doesn't remember your highlights. Well, it may sometimes, but it'll definitely notice your lowlights. It won't always reward you for your best days, but it'll judge you for your worst ones. I mean, think about it. The client that you've got in front of you doesn't care how brilliant you were last week if today you seem distracted and disengaged. The market doesn't care if you made a smart investment decision 5 years ago, if you've been sloppy with your decisions since, and your family. They'll notice the little things, your tone, your consistency, your presence, not just the big gestures. That's why the most successful people I know, whether in business, investing, or in life, bring energy, discipline, and enthusiasm to the small things, not just the big ones. They show up the same way, whether it's a multi-million-dollar deal or a simple team meeting, whether it's a major life event or a quiet Tuesday morning, because they know the truth. Excellence isn't an act, it's a habit. It's built into the mundane moments when nobody's watching you. So here's my challenge to you today. Where are you coasting right now? What small thing are you treating as insignificant? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. Remember, everything matters. And when you show up fully, even for the little things, you're preparing yourself for the big ones. Thank you for spending the last little while with me. I hope you got some benefit from this show. But before you move on to the next podcast you're going to listen to, let me remind you I have another show that I produce once a week with leading demographer Simon Kirstenmacher. We call that Demographics Decoded, where Simon and I unveil the trends that are going to shape your future. In my mind, this is a must-listen-to podcast for anyone interested in property investment, but also for business people and entrepreneurs. So if you don't currently subscribe to Demographics Decoded, just please stop for a second and subscribe on your podcast app where you're listening to this, or on YouTube. And of course, if you don't subscribe to this show, the Michael Yardney podcast, why not click the link that says follow or subscribe wherever you're listening right now. So twice a week, you're going to get benefit from my guests and me. And I'd like to ask you a little favour, please. If you did enjoy today's show and you know somebody who would also benefit, please tell them about the Michael Yardney podcast and Demographics Decoded. There's a share button on every podcast app. On Apple Podcasts, there are 3 little buttons at the top of the player. Well, just tell them about it. Just have a chat with them. Now, I hope you're going to be doing them a favour, and you're definitely going to be doing me a favour in my quest to help as many people as possible to become financially literate. And by the way, I've got a special bonus for you. As my way of saying thank you for subscribing, just go to podcastbonus.com.au. There'll be a link in the show notes, podcastbonus.com.au, where I've got a bunch of ebooks and reports. It's just my way of saying thank you for taking the time to listen. And remember, the information that we give you in this podcast is general information, not specific information about your personal circumstances, because we don't know about them. But if you do want specific information, you can always have a chat with my team at Metropole. Go to metropole.com.au. If you really want to learn more, you can always listen to the previous podcast, the many episodes we've already published. Just go back to the old episodes, which each have lessons about property investment, success, and money. Once again, thanks for listening to today's show.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Michael Yardney podcast, which was brought to you by Metropole, who help their clients grow, protect, and pass on their wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. If you like what you heard and don't already subscribe, you'll find us on iTunes or on your favourite Android app as the Michael Yardney podcast. Watch out for our next show, which comes to you twice a week, and you'll learn some new ideas about property investment, success, and money in around 30 minutes. To get more of Michael's thoughts, go across to www.propertyupdate.com.au and sign up for his daily morning briefing, and you'll hear from not only Michael, but a group of leading property success and money experts. And just a reminder that the information you heard in this show today is general educational advice and not specific investment advice, as we don't know your personal circumstances. If you're looking for specific advice, why not ask the team at Metropole to help you?